Welcome to Not a Roofers podcast, where we discuss roofing
without all the jargon. I'm Breianna.
And I'm Charity.
And this is today's episode. Hello and welcome back to Not a Roofers podcast. Today we're going to talk about SBS, which is a type of roofing. And if you've joined us since the beginning, you know we went through a series at the beginning about roofing types. And you might be wondering, wait, if this is a roofing type, why are we only hearing about it now? But the thing is that we just went through some common roofing types that you will find everywhere at the beginning of this podcast journey. And so now we're going to get into ones every so often that you may not have heard of and aren't as common. So I really want to say, Charity, give us our definition, but
I don't have the definitions. You do the definitions.
I know.
You're my definition girl.
It's just like whenever I am the one who starts, I'm like, Charity, give us the definition. And nope. So, okay. Bear with me because just like some of the other terms that involve chemistry related names, I may butcher them a little bit. I did ask my husband for help, so hopefully we're good. But SBS stands for styrene butadiene styrene. So that's the breakdown of it. But since SBS there's not an official definition because it's just a type of material, I wrote down what styrene and butadiene are. So styrene is a colorless, oily liquid, and butadiene is a colorless gas that is easily condensed to a liquid. And so then they are mixed together with bitumen, which we have to backtrack our steps a little bit because we did in a previous episode, I don't know what one, mispronounce this word. It is, I think we call it what, bitumen, Charity?
Yes, I think so.
I call it bitumen. It is, we have found out it is actually pronounced bitumen. So now we all know. So when it is mixed with bitumen, because SBS is the styrene and butadiene mixed with it, it creates a synthetic rubber roofing that is a close cousin to what we had called burr in our episode about build-up roofing, but we actually also found out that is usually pronounced B-U-R and only sometimes pronounced burr, but it is a close cousin to B-U-R roofing. So that's the general overview definition of SBS.
Breianna described what SBS was, the words, what each of the words mean. But basically, it's a thermoplastic elastomer that is mixed and blended with a bitumen, which creates the perfect modified bitumen roofing that achieves cold flexibility and elastic properties. So it has the ability to retain its shape after it is stretched.
We really wake up on these days that we are going to, pick terms to talk about on this podcast, and we choose big words and hard to understand concepts.
Just getting the information out there.
We're like, you want to learn a new word today?
Gonna teach you a new word, and it's not gonna be easy.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you just mentioned some pros. You said what? High elasticity and whatnot.
Well, yeah. So, I mentioned that it has the ability to achieve cold flexibility, which is great because that means that it's going to have resistance to the most extreme weather conditions, whether the temps are high or low. So SBS will be great for the term we learned recently, weathering. It's going to work better
before we get more in depth on this, thing to note is that SBS is a type of roofing that is most popular with flat roofs because of the fact that it is really good with the temperature changes. I think we've talked about it before with just how membranes will expand and shrink with the temperature. Having that elasticity for extreme temperature changes makes it a really good product to use with the flat roofs.
Which it's interesting that you say that because expectancy is actually one of the pros of using SBF, and it actually says that it is ideal for a flat roof solution because it does retain its pliability and elasticity over time.
Yeah, I don't know how much you found it will last, but I had found that the longevity of SBS is about 50 years. We talk about flat roofing and, how long you're wanting these things to work, but we will always put in there that the life expectancy really does depend on the weathering of the roof as well as just the maintenance and upkeep of it. Nothing is going to last as long if you're not keeping up and taking care of it properly. So, side note, longevity may be 50 years, but that is with the like asterisk bottom footnote maintenance needed.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I found, and this isn't a pro or a con, but I would like to talk about how SBS needs to be applied. So it can be applied one of three ways. So it can be applied with a thing called hot mopping is the official term. Ultimately, you spread a layer of hot asphalt as the base layer and then lay it on top. You can have it be torch applied, where it's hard to explain, but ultimately you have like a torch and
You apply it with fire.
yeah, ultimately. Or it can be applied with cold adhesives. As with any type of roof, how it is applied and who is applying it will also affect the longevity of the roof, because if you have someone apply it that is not qualified to be applying it the way it needs to be, then obviously you're going to end up with some problems. Do you have any more pros?
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole list of them.
Oh, okay. Well, give them to us.
um, let's see. Where do I want to go from there? Well, let's go with security. It just offers a good peace of mind, um, if installed correctly, that there will be limited, if not any, leaks or issues. Again, if applied correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did find the last pro I actually have on my list. But I found that one of the things about SPS and one of the reasons that I truly believe that it is popular for flat roofs is because of its water resistance. We've talked about, ponding and weathering and just how, flat roofs have a harder time when it comes to water being on them. And so the water resistance of SPS really helps decrease the problems that usually occur on flat roofs
Except
with
it isn't only those issues, it is also has a high resistance to mechanical damage and puncturing.
oh.
It, like I said, high resistance. I did not say that it was immune to those things. It just has a higher resistance to those things. So it is overall a pretty good system.
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting. I'm gonna go with interesting fact for this one. Okay,
Okay.
not necessarily. I mean, it's a pro, but it's an interesting fact about SBS. The compatibility with the application, it because it's has waterproofing on it. It can be used not only for roofing, but it can also be used to waterproof car park decks, or
Mm-hmm.
bridge decks, or green roofs, etc. Stuff like that. So that's just an interesting fact.
Good to know.
But with all good things comes the cons. There are issues to every roofing type. Nothing's perfect.
So, some of the cons for SBS. One is that even though we have mentioned that it's high elasticity and all these other things, and it seems like it's a really good product. Depending on the quality, as I have said before, I'll say it again, I'll say it probably forever, quality matters. And so you do want to be making sure that you're getting a high quality product if you want it to last longer. But SBS can be fragile when it comes to foot traffic, depending on the quality of what you have. And so that is a con. And of course, with that, I guess if you are wanting a higher performance and everything, con can be the cost of it because, of course, those extra things will cost more. Another con is that you have to have proper drainage. I know I said it's water resistant, which makes it really good for flat roofs, but as we've already talked about previously, drainage is so important on flat roofs because even with it being water resistant, there still needs to be a way for the water to get off the roof. So SBS roofing has to have proper drainage, and if not, that can cause a problem. And then some of the cons come down to specifically the installation of the SBS roofing.
Ooh, I feel like this is a big topic with every roofing type. The installation is always a con.
The installation is, but this one is different. It's not the like it has to be installed properly, and
I mean, it does have to be installed properly. Let's not get too carried away.
it does, but the cons that I think are notable with this one is that one thing with the installation is the safety aspect, because if we go back to the types of ways that it can be applied, two of them involve heat in one form or another.
Well, and maybe we can get into that in another episode, but you actually have to be certified to apply roofing membranes with a torch. You have to be torch certified.
Yeah, so the safety of it, like just the basic, you are dealing with hot materials, either hot asphalt or the torch, and so that brings upon its own dangers. That is something to note. And then the other one is there is a smell when you're dealing with hot things.
Have you ever smelled hot asphalt?
Yeah, it's not pleasant. So those are, well, yes, the proper installation and about like everything that we always say otherwise, but with this one I thought it was really funny because it is specifically the safety and smell.
So what would be your definition of this word?
See, this is always hard because it like with like SBS and
things that have like very technical definitions are hard to create our own definitions for, because like there's like with SBS it's so specific. One, because it didn't actually have a definition, but two, you described exactly what the words are and what the words mean.
I know with EPDM we did come up with like a roofing specific, like this is what it is. So I feel like we can do the same with SBS because, like, again, SBS just stands for the parts that make it up. So I would say SBS is a modified bitumen. Well, no, not even. That's confusing. SBS is a synthetic rubber roofing membrane used primarily on flat roofs.
Yeah, I can agree with that one.
It doesn't say a lot about it, but I think it says a lot more than being like, what is SBS? Oh, SBS is styrene, butadiene styrene.
My goal for this podcast, honestly, would be that when people are talking about like maybe homeowners or business owners, when they're talking about the roofing issues, one, they'll be able to understand what the roofers are talking about, but two, if someone asks them a question and they don't, like, the person asking the question doesn't know, they'll be like, oh, well, I listened to this podcast and I know all about that. Like, how awesome would that be?
That, I mean, if like in a perfect world and perfect podcast, that would be my wish for everything.
And maybe our definitions can help with that.
Maybe. That'd be cool.
All right.
Until next time.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you've been loving what you're hearing, make sure to press the subscribe button so you get notified anytime we post a new episode. Episodes come out on Monday and Fridays. Please feel free to share this podcast with a friend. We'd love everybody to be able to join us and learn more about the roofing industry as we go along on this journey. If you don't already, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. I will put all of our information down in the show notes below. Feel free to contact us with any questions or any any roofing ideas that you would love for us to talk about. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time.